So today we are going to talk about here after we are going to talk about advanced topics in Python. So it's built-in tools today. So first we'll go through the an ID features and all. So what is available. So we all know that Sublime. I think I gave an introduction about this. So it's an editor. We can start practicing in it. So so you all know how to configure editor, right? Okay. So these are the one of the tools which help us to develop Python projects. So we can use this tool to create and maintain Python projects. So and Sublime is one of the tool. It is called the editor. It is look like a notepad and it contains you can able to execute Python file and we can so we can create, we can edit, we can maintain the Python files with the help of Sublime, and it's just a basic editor. And if you know, if you are not require any high end tool, then you can go with Sublime. It's a basic editor for Python, and you can maintain a Python project with the help of Sublime. And the next thing is, and in this we need to, so what do we want, like say for example, if you want to if you want to enable auto filling, so we need some built-in tools. So say for example, if I say a class here, it's you're getting some suggestions, right? So these are we can enable these features with the help of plugins. Means by default Sublime doesn't carry these by basic Sublime doesn't carry out these possibilities or features. We have to enable it. So for that we need to say control shift P. Okay, so just say control plus shift plus P. It's a shortcut to bring out a pop-up. So in that you have to say search. So I'm just explaining you the features which is available in Sublime, and select search for install, and there you have to choose this menu, package control install package. Okay, so with the help of this, so it will actually loading your repository, so you can identify this. And once it's done, so that pop will be open. Here you can start installing your plugin. It's like we all know that in Python we have to say pip install, right? In Sublime you have to do in this way. So we can install like GitHub, a lot of plugin is there. It's up to you. Automatic coding tools, autocomplete. So I already installed the autocomplete plugin, so it will list out the something apart from that already installed, so it won't list out for me. And it's up to you. We can search and install whatever package you want to say, like autocomplete and shortcuts, and we won't able to perform input, like input won't work in this. So in Sublime, we all know that input, right? So input will never work in Sublime. For that we need to enable a feature called, so REPL. It's called REPL. We need to enable that. So I already installed the two. So Control Shift P install packages, say REPL. I've already installed. So it's a Sublime REPL. I will install kind of. Okay. So these are the packages we need to install in this way in Sublime. These are the basic features. And in terms of the next thing is PyCharm. Okay. Let's see what is PyCharm. So PyCharm is one of the major IDE for Python, and with the help of PyCharm, we can develop and maintain a complete Pythonic projects. Okay, so the way to utilize is a file. a new project, and it will create in a certain folder wherever you want to create. It's a dedicated folder. And next thing is called interpreter. What is interpreter? So what is interpreter? What is interpreter?
line by line extension.
So interpreter is a middleman or compiler. So it's like a compiler or interpreter. It's a middleman. It's a tool which going to compile your Python code, right? And here we suppose to choose a Python. I mean the Python set of where it is it actually exists. Okay, so your program will execute depends on, I mean based on that interpreter alone. So it is a location where your Python file or exists. So interpreter is it's going to execute your Python file. That's it. Okay. So we have to choose that. Okay. And here it's the term called virtual environment. What is virtual environment? That's we are going to talk about. So virtual environment is nothing but, so say for example, I'm having two projects in a hand. Uh, Both are using a various Python versions. One is it belongs to Python 2, and see this production app was in Python 2. I'm going to say, so you actually have this was built on Python 2. Okay, so Python 2.7, and having one more application which require, which need Python 3. Okay, I can able to manage my Python project in various Python version along with each require, say, so here I'm using Django 2 series, and in this project I'm using Django 1 series. So you can maintain Python package also with the help of virtual environment. So what is a virtual environment means? So virtual environment is a small package which will take care of your, see that Django version. So it takes 1 series. Okay, so virtual environment will take care of, it will actually maintain your Python version along with its dependencies. What happened, instead of installing it in a global, it will install into your local. So that is what virtual environment is going to do. So the way to create, which I will show you the how to create a virtual environment. So inside a folder. Okay, so without that, you all know pip, right? So if I say pip freeze, it will fetch a pip install. So whatever was installed with the help of pip from a global, so global install. So you're looking for a global, and it will analyze and it returns. So these packages was installed in a global. Okay, now I'm going to create virtual environment. So to create, before that we need to install virtual environment. Pip install virtual env. This is the command to install virtual env. Okay, once you install, you might hear about virtual OS, so virtual machine, right? What does it mean by virtual machine? Installing one operating system inside your operating system. Okay, so it will allocate dedicated resource for that, and you can maintain whatever you want inside that virtual OS, right? Similarly, virtual environment means for your application development. That's it. Okay, I'm going to create a new environment, virtual env. I'm going to say credo project. I'll say credo env. Okay, so it will actually copy a Python environment inside your folder, and it will keep your all the pip dependencies inside. Okay, and but this is was in Python 2. See, I'm going to move inside. See, inside a bin, you will find all of your Python dependencies inside. See that Python was copied inside. So that is actually by default, it is actually copied Python 2, because I'm having more than one Python version. It is actually copied my Python versions. Okay, so you might not understand what I'm doing right now, but this is for your knowledge and for your understanding. Whenever you come across, please refer once again. So we are all recording, right? Or just reach me out. I will guide you how to set up. Okay, so this is about all of your for your project work. So this will help you out in the project development. Okay, So this will create a new environment. So my Python interpreter was reside in my own Python location. So it won't reflect in, so it won't uh, what I say, so it won't affect any of your Python environment. So because it was reside in your own, whatever you install, it will be simply keep on expanding your installation. So once you created an environment, you need to activate it. So say for the command is source, I'm going to say bin inside bin there is a file called activate. Okay, it will vary for OS. So it will, the command is same for Linux and Mac. For Windows we have to say include. So include is not there. So it is not there in Linux. In Windows it will be there. Include activate. Okay, you have to say like that. So you need to find where it is actually exist. But for Linux and Mac it will be bin activate. Once it activate, it will look like this. So now say pip freeze. I never install anything, right? So it will say empty. That's it. So we don't have anything. So we have not installed anything. Now I say if I say pip install the Django, so it will install only inside my dedicated location. So it is actually installed in my dedicated location. Okay, and now once I say again, it contains these two packages alone in my own file. Okay, in ALS the file was there. So in a lib you will find the Django. So Django was installed. So previously it was not. Now it is there. Okay, whenever you install that, it will keep on expanding. Okay, but all your dependencies along with interpreter will be there in your local environment, local path. So this will actually maintain your project repositories. I mean, project dependencies. So it won't conflict with each other. So that is the usage of virtual environment. It is like uh, installing OS inside your operating system. Similarly, it will create a project environment inside your existing environment. So it both will never conflict each other. That is an advantage of virtual environment. So any doubts in this? What is virtual environment? So you will get to know when you start practicing it. So practice alone will make you perfect. So start practicing, you will get to understand what it is. Okay, and it is required for PyCharm. So then only PyCharm will maintain a dedicated virtual. Otherwise, it will take the global repository. So it will otherwise you're looking for a global installation. So anyway, PyCharm looking for a global installation. Once done, it will create your own project and you can start coding in that. So that's it. And in a PyCharm, we have a lot of features. I told you already. So when you say settings, we don't need to maintain pip install command all the time. Just say interpreter, project interpreter, start installing. You just say plus icon, just say plus icon. You can search and install your own project, your own dependencies, project dependencies. Okay, so PyCharm made it so simple in this. Okay, and PyCharm contains a built-in application server, so you can configure in this. Say choose this and start running your project. So it will running your project. It contains a built-in server and it contains a VCS, I mean uh, project repository. So I mean the version control system. You can configure one-time configuration with GitHub, and you can start pushing your code and you can fetching from a GitHub. So you can manage your code globally. So I mean cloud with the help of GitHub. So and I told you already. So PyCharm also contains Pepe rule. So it will take care of it will actually take care of the Pepe rules. So we don't need to bother about that. So it will actually maintain that whenever we made a mistake, it will correct automatically. We don't need to worry about that. So uh, it is acceptable. But so see, I told you. So whenever you're creating a module, we need to keep two space in between. Got it? Because it will make your code more readable. That's it. So it won't create any syntax error, but it says some warning because it is not a code was not more readable. That's why it says an error. But PyCharm will take it. So the balloon icon will appear when clicking that. So it says Pepe trick word expect except two blank lines but found one instead. Just click balloon icon, say reformat. Your code will be auto reformat. We don't need to worry about that. We don't need to bother about it. So PyCharm will take care of it. So these are the such features available in PyCharm. We have a lot more in that. So that is an advantage of PyCharm. So when compared with Edit and PyCharm, PyCharm contains it's an end-to-end uh, so it contains all the features for which is required for an IDE. So I mean development. But Sublime contains a less feature because Sublime is very less file size. It's like almost 30 MB, but PyCharm is a 300 MB. But that's why PyCharm contains all together. But Sublime it contains only less feature. Whatever we need to expand it by installing with the help of Control Shift P. We need to start installing it. Okay, by default it won't contain anything, and we need if you want anything we just start keep expanding that. But in PyCharm it is there, it is there by default. We don't need to install manually, it is there already. That's it. Okay, this is about tool. And in Sublime and all, so in PyCharm the automatic coding tool is there already. Just say class, it will be filled automatically, it will be suggested, and it actually fetching from a suggestion. So we don't need to worry about the auto coding tools also. So whenever it be imported, and this also will be listed from the auto coding tools. Okay, these are the feature from PyCharm. And let's move on to debugger. What is debugger? So it is all about a module which is available in Python. So there is a module called PDB. It's a Python debugger. Python debugger. This module will help you to debug your code. This is just to debug. Okay. So there is a two things in this. One is a debugger, and one more thing is profiling. So in terms of built-in tools, so both are built-in. We don't need to install. So it is predefined. I just say import, and what is this? Any idea? So import, you all know it's a reserved keyword. And what is PDB? What is PDB?
Python.
It's a module. Yeah, it is a Python module. It is a pre-installed. We don't need to worry about it. It is there. And what is the use of usage of PDB? That is what you are going to talk about. It's a Python debugger. That's it. It is help you to debug your code. That's it. And once you import it, just say PDB dot run. This will give you the report about your Python code. That's it. Okay, it will actually execute your module. You need to pass it inside. Just say lane. Kind of this will actually debug you, and it will give you the report about your code. That's it. Okay, it is a simple tool which will give you a report about your code. It will actually debug and will say whether the error is exist or not. That's it. It's a simple tool which will tell you the, it will actually run your code and it will produce whether your code going to produce any error or not. It's just a report about your code. It's called Python debugger. Okay, and the next thing is uh, unit test. So there is one more thing called import. So you all hear about unit test. Okay. So unit test is another module which is it's a built-in module available in Python already. So with the help of unit test, we can test our code. Just say dir. We need to, so the way how to use unit test. So you have to utilize. So you need to use unit as a inheritance method. So you need to say unit test dot test case, unit test dot test case. It's a class you need to import in your code. I'll show you that. So actually this model will help you to make sure our code whether is running properly or not. It contains the ways we will show you. Let's say I'm going to create a class. See, so here I have created a function. Okay, so why we need testing? So in case even yesterday also we have seen an exception, right? So user might giving a wrong input. In that case we all know we don't know how to so we need to ensure, so before moving on to production we need to ensure whether it is working properly or not. If user gave a wrong input, we need to identify, oh, this is a wrong input kind of. Okay, so for that we need to test in all the cases whether your function is working properly or not in the, and we need to handle it through. So if user say a wrong input, we need to handle it. Okay, in the if we fail to handle that exception, it will lead to an error. We all know that. For that we have to prepare a test cases. So this model will help you out to prepare a proper test cases. So it will actually ensure whether your code is working perfectly or not. Okay, so in this case what I'm doing, so I'm actually doing a factorial for my program, right? So here my class test case module. So here I'm going to test my program. It is up to you. You need to create a class along with a module, sorry, a method. That's it, right? So inside that, okay, and this is a test method. So there's a lot of methods available for testing. It can say I'll show you that. See, so it is called, it will start with asset equal, asset not equal, asset dict equal. So it is depends upon your output. So what is your program going to return? It actually depends on the data type actually. So if it is a dictionary, you have to use asset dict. If it is a list, you have to say asset list. If it is a number, so you can say asset equal, asset not equal. And if it is a boolean, you say asset is asset is equal, asset is not, kind of asset, say asset true, asset false, kind of. Okay, so asset is a term which going to compare with your, so it's going to compare your output with a given output. So say for example, in my case, if I say 5, it should return 120. It's in your output, right? I'm going to say asset equal. So this is my function. I'm going to say 5, and this is my desired output. So if it say, it will run your test module, and it will send you a report says yes, it is passed, your test, it's actually passed. And you want to ensure, if your input is such 5, and if your output is say is something different, say for example if it is 24, you all know it is not, and you can say it is not equal. It is up to you what you are actually choosing it. And once you run, it will say it is run, and in case if there is an exception, it says yes, it is failed. Actually, your test case is failed, and it will give you the detailed report about that. Okay, it says assertion error, so it is actually not equal. So here I said assert should return when it is my given input which is equal to my desired input. So actually it is not. So it says your test case failed, and because the reason is your function returns something which is not equal to desired inputs, sorry, desired output, and we will ensure. So it is, now the issue is with my input, not with my code. So this is the way you have to test your codes now. We have an assurance your code doesn't raises any issues, and now it's fine. Okay, this is the way to test your code. So the how to utilize, how to use a unit test. So you need to import unit test. This is the first method, and in second case you need to create a class with the preceding name called test. Okay, this is the way to create a test case. Create a class with a precedent word called test, and you can say anything you want to, and you need to inherit test case. This is the one way to do, or else what to do. So in another word, let's say unit test import test case. So this is the another way to do, and inside that you don't need this actually. You don't need this actually. Okay, and we need one more thing called name. Okay, this is the another way to do, and that's it. Okay, this will also execute that. Okay, so to prepare a test case file, so this is actual test case module. In this module I'm going, so you should not keep your program inside, you need to keep it in somewhere else. Okay, so you need to keep it somewhere, you need to start import and using it. So just say I'm going to keep it in this file. I'm just keeping in this file, and I'm going to import it with the help of sub input file. So you can able to access your function from this file. Okay, you need to keep it as a separate test file. Okay, so this is the way to create the test module. You need to, so you might have your program in one file, you need to import it into your test case file, and this is the way to create a test case. Say class name starts with test, and you need to import from unit test, import this case. That's it, you don't need to do anything. And then create a method starts with test again. Of it can be a precedence, or you can add it at the end. So this will actually gather your test case method together. That's why we are saying test underscore. It's otherwise anyway it will going to execute, but this will actually so test module will capture all of your test case with the help of this name. Otherwise what happen, it won't execute. Say it says zero test case, because it is it never identify your test cases, because previously I have not kept a proper naming. It will it will understand this is a different method, so it won't understand your test. So you need to keep you need to start your method or end your method with a name called test underscore. This is the way to create a test cases. Now it's your test case actually ran, and it is actually providing me result. That's it. Okay, you need to maintain a class name with the test and also a method with test, because I'm not see I've created a class test but I never run in my program, right? So this is taken care by unit test itself. So you need to run main. That's it. Main will take care of instantiating this class, and you will take care of executing this method. We don't need to worry about that. This will take care by main itself, but we need to ensure your class starts with test, and your method should starts with this. That's it. This is what we need to ensure. That's it. This is the way to prepare a test case. That's it. Okay. Have you understand this case? So hope you won't properly get it, but you will compare. You will get to compare this concept when you come across that level. So this is I'm saying this is for your knowledge. Oh, these modules exist in Python. So this will trigger you whenever you come across the needs. So then only you say, oh, I've learned this sometime before. I can utilize this. So you can easily relate with the concept when you come across the needs. Otherwise, you won't understand this properly. But this is for your knowledge. Oh, this model is exists in Python. We can utilize it whenever we need it. That's it. This is purely for your knowledge. So I'm sure you won't understand this right now because you struggle to understand the class concept. But I'm damn sure that this you will struggle to understand this too. But this is for your knowledge. I'm saying these kind of models exist in Python. We can utilize whenever came across that requirement. That's it. This is purely for your knowledge. That's it. Okay. So have you understand this? So about test case modules in Python. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any doubts in this? How about test case? Have you struggled to understand what it is and all? Hello.
Yeah. In fact, Mohiddin, this will ask in the interview also.
Yes. Yes.
What are the modules you use for your
Testing.
doing Python test? Yeah.
Yes. So you can say we can create a test case with the help of unit test module, and we need to maintain. So this is the structure. So you can just for you will clearly get to know what it is when you start practicing. Otherwise, you won't get it. But for theoretical, as you said, it's for interview preparations. This might help you out. So we need to use a unit test module, and we need to we need to create a class called starts with test, and we need to create method call starts with test, and we need to keep a method calling like asset. It will start with asset. Okay, you need to remember this asset. What is asset? Asset equal, asset not equal, asset equal, asset dict equal, asset list equal, etc. There is a lot of methods exist in test cases. And right now, it will be helpful for your interview preparation, and you will really it will be required when you start utilizing it. Okay, until then, it will be like a for your knowledge. That's it. So let's move on to profiling. So this is debugging tools. Like as I said before, one is a PDB, and one more thing is a unit test for test your code. And let's move on to another thing called monitoring. Okay. So what is called monitoring? What is the difference between debugging and monitoring? Any what is debugging and what is monitoring? Any difference between monitoring and debugging?
You can put a breakpoint in a debugging, and when you monitor it, it
So
is the values which you check.
So monitoring means it's up to your performance, how efficient codes are, and debugging means how about your code. So whether you implement it properly, and whether your code going to proceed the expected output. That is what debugging. Okay, and testing, and monitoring in the sense how efficient your code are, and how many time it's actually running. So whether some people are actually preparing a nasty code. Yeah. So we say for example if you want to prepare like a reversing a string, or if you want to prepare a Fibonacci sequence, we can do in several ways, right? You all know that, right? If you want to prepare string reverse, we all know that, like one is say this what is the simplest way to reverse a string? What is the easiest way to reverse a string?
Palindrome?
Palindrome. Palindrome is
Index.
Sorry.
it's a program which will check whether it is your string with whether it is equal to the reverse
Equal.
of it. Yeah. Now I'm saying how to reverse a string in the easiest way.
Index.
Slicing.
Slicing. What is mean by slicing? Say indexing. What is how to do that? Since you are from there, let's crack it out. So, what are the way to reverse a string? So, let's say the first method.
With the help of for loop, you can reverse the loop.
Pardon?
With the help of for loop,
How to?
from
I have shown you that how to reverse a string in easiest way. But I'm just asking the easiest way, but you're saying something. That is the one of the way. So with the help of for loop, we can do that. Let's see. Let's start with the method of
for
working with this.
reverse function we can use.
That is one among the way to reverse a string. But I'm saying what is the easiest way. So let's say method one. What you said. Okay, with the help of for loop. Okay, how to reverse a string with the help of for loop. How to reverse with the help of for loop. Just say for character in INP. What to do?
We can take the size of the string
Size of the string.
and then
I'll show you that the simplest way. So yeah, each one having its own. So that is what I said. Nasty code means each one having its own idea, right? So I might implement in one way, you might implement in such way, right? So you said you have to take a size because it's a thinking will differ, but my goal is same, correct? So the thinking will differ. The goal is same. We all want to reverse your string in such way. That's it. But you might did it in 10 lines. I might did it in a few lines, or someone did it in 15 lines, etc. But it will actually reduce your performance, right? That is about monitoring. So monitoring means say your code took this much of time to execute this for the designated output. That is called monitoring. So depends upon the performance, we will choose which one we want to. That is about monitoring. Okay. So debugging is different. Debugging is about giving the exact output what we want. So it's up to an output. I'm saying I'm passing this input, whether it's gave me the dedicated designated output or not. That is debugging. Monitoring means a performance and efficiency. How efficient the code are. That is called monitoring. Got it? This is one way in a reversing a string. Say reverse. Let's say we'll get it. Got it. So this is the one way. And how about that way? Any guesses with the help of indexing? What to do? We all seen with the help of indexing. You forgot this thing? Have you forgot this one? Hello? How about this? Have you forgot this thing? We all seen, right, what it is. We all know this method, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, which one looks simple? We have not used any built-in at all, right? We just used indexing, adjust the position, and I don't need a for. So you all know here it's supposed to take a number of loops, right? So it's up to the length of your inputs. But in this case, we are just simply using indexing to reverse your input. Which one looks simple? The second one, right? We can go with a built-ins also. There is a built-in function called sorted. It's a built-in function, right? We need to pass your input, just say use reverse is true. Got it? This gives you like that. You need to what you need to. So you need to merge it together with the help of join keyword. This is one of the way. It's one among the way to do that. Oh, sorry, it's sorted. This is not. Got it. So what happened? This and this are similar. So this is actually doing the built-in with the help of built-in function. We are achieving it. That's it. So this might be done with they might done with the help of this logic or this logic. Anything. It's up to that. Okay. So it's again a function. So this is all analyzing the performance. I mean the efficiency of the code. So you all know this is more efficient than this because here we need to take a loop and we need to add it together and it contains certain memory. But this we are simply interchanging its position based on an index. That's it. Okay. This looks more simple than this. Okay. This. So how to analyze this performance? We have two options. One is with the help of just a basic time. That's it. We have to import a package called time it. It's like a timer. We all know stopwatch, right? This is something similar. So, so this will actually give you some time, some start time. We need to assign it to say s equal to, and if you have something, let's say e minus yes, e minus s, you will get the difference. I mean, how many time it took for an execution. Okay, this is a time for execution for this method. Okay, so similarly, we can use this function. So we will find it out which took more time. Okay, so we'll easily identify which took more time. So actually here I wrote each and every line, so I need to keep it inside a function, then only I will get a proper timing. I mean, get like this in another way. So in between you need to keep your code. So once it is executed and you are setting the final time, Got it? So which is more efficient? So I have shown you the two methods. So this one is actually I written a function and I need to iterate. It took 0.003 seconds, but it took just 0.002 seconds. Which one is more efficient? This one, right? Yeah. So this is the way to find out the efficiency. So this is one among the way. Got it? With the help of time, the basic logic. So just the basic logic. With the help of stopwatch kind of. It's a timer. Okay. We can achieve it through built-in function call. Sorry, built-in module call what? What I have used actually.
Index.
Index. So what I have used actually. Pardon? Import. What I used? Time it. Correct?
Time.
It is time it. Okay. So with the help of time it, we can. It will actually give you the timestamp. That's it. With the help of timestamp, we need to minus from the starting to end. If you deduct from starting to end, you will get the exact time consumption. So I mean that block of code, how much time a block of code consumes, you will easily identify that. That's it. So this is one of the profiling concept. And one more important model is there, that is called C profile. So this is actually a derivation of deriving from C programming language. So this will help you to monitor your code and it will give you a detailed report of your a function or sorry, I mean your block of code. How many time it takes, how many time it took for an execution, how many loops it contains. Say for example, if you are using a recursion, you don't know how many loops is there. So say for example, I am doing something like I'm going to create a function called factorial in return 1, if not n, else just say fact n minus 1, n into n minus 1. Okay, I'm going to use C profile. So just please note, this is actually camel case. Start with lowercase and it's capital. Okay, I know it's a difficult to reuse again, so I'm just setting an alias for that. Just say prof. Okay, so you all know what is alias. So we won't able to use this name. It will say namer because I have used an alias for that. So I use with the help of pro. So that is called alias. That is the help of AS. A is the result keyword. Okay. So pro dot run. I need to execute. So it should be inside a comma. Quote. Sorry. Fact of. I need to pass what a number, right? I'm just say 5. So if I say 5, how many loops will occur in a factorial? You all know what is factorial, right? So by default, how many loops? 5 loops to find a factorial. You all know, right? What is factorial?
4 times 4 loops.
4 times. How? It is 5, right?
N minus 1.
N minus 1, yeah. Then what it is? Just say 5. Then tell me in each time what will I get it as I end?
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it.
How many times? 5 into
5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1.
3 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into
120 times.
1 into 120 times. 120 is an answer. I'm asking a loop. How many loops? 5, 5 minus 1, 4, 4 minus 1, 3. When the loop will stop?
5 times.
Is it 5 times?
5, 4, 3,
2, 1, 0. How about 0?
If you multiply with 0 means the result will be 0. So
Yeah, that's why we wrote this condition, right? In case of 0, return 1, right? That is an factorial. What is 0 factorial? 0 factorial is 1. Yeah. Then how many times loops?
6 times.
6 times. If it is 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, again 1. Means if in case of 0, your number will turn into 1.
1.
So you will get 120. Obviously, the result will be 120, but this profile will give you the detailed report, how many loops occurred and how much time it took actually. So see, it took 6 calls. I mean, six loops in a one loop. So one function call. In one function call, it actually takes 6. And what it means? So this is right. Def, it's a result queue. It is actually took 1 call and return took 1 more call. Got it? 6 plus 2, totally 8. And each took this time. So this actually round off the value. Otherwise, you will get the exact one. Understand? So in last, someone asked me a question in Sublime. I was show you that what is that? While we're talking about what is that? Sorry, you will get to know. Uh, in Sublime, whenever we're running a module, in the bottom it's showing right running time. It's actually showing the running time, right? The finished in 0.0. I mean, this is that the running time. So they actually fetching it through C profile. So how much time your program took to execute? Got it? Okay. So this is about a monitoring. So for monitoring, we can use a time it and C profile module to find your execution time. So we can choose which way is more efficient, and we can conclude this is the way which result was so efficient. So we can go up this method. So this will help you to find out which method or which solution is more suitable for us. We can conclude with this way. That's why we are actually utilizing a C profile to monitor your code. That's it. Got it? So this is called monitoring. So next topic is called file handling. What is file handling? So what is before moving on to file handling, what is called file extension? Any idea about file extension? What is called extension? What is file extension?
It's a type of a file.
Exactly that.
What type of a file it
Yes.
defines?
Yes, exactly. The type of file. Based on its type, we can easily identify, oh, this is belongs to this type. I may say, for example, if it is JPEG or it's PNG, we can say it is an image. If we say DOC, PDF, we can say it is a document. And if it is MOV, MP4, we can say it is a video file. Okay. So depends on that extension, we can identify, oh, this is belongs to this type of file. Okay. That is called file type. Now we are going to handle files. Okay. So to handle a file, Python provides a lot of modules, or I mean a lot of package to handle your files. Okay. And by default, Python comes with a basic file handler that is called open method. I mean open function. We can open up type of files with the help of open. Okay. So we'll discuss in detail tomorrow how to achieve it through, and what is open and what is going to do actually. So we can parse any type you want. So open will open all the type of files. We'll see what is the mode available. You all know what is mode: read mode, write mode, rewritable mode, etc. are there, right? We'll discuss in detail tomorrow what it is. And so once we parse a file, we can do what we want. Say for example, in case of image, we can resize the image. I have shown you already how to resize image with the help of a module called PIL, Python imaging library. So there is a lot of module available. It depends on file size. So I mean a file extension. So file types. If it is image, we supposed to use PIL. If it is a document, so if it is text file, we can just simply open is enough. In case of CSV, we need to import CSV. In case of Excel, we need to import something called Excel XLX, sorry, XLX, XLRD, sorry. We need to import, so if we need to install and use it, we'll discuss in detail what it is and what is the various module or a package available to parse file. So tomorrow will be an interesting topic because everyone want to parse a file, right? So we'll discuss in detail file handling technique which is available in Python. So please prepare for that. We'll discuss in detail tomorrow. So any doubts in today's session? So we are hereafter we are going to talk about various built-in models available in Python hereafter, and it will be an advanced topic. So please prepare for that. So please go through all of your fundamentals. Please brush up your fundamental knowledge because it will help you throughout a remaining session. Okay, because hereafter we are going to talk about advanced topic. So once we done up with fundamentals, tomorrow will sorry I mean in upcoming days we are going to talk about GUI programming. So you can create your own application and you can send your mail through Python script. You can communicate with the database with the help of Python code. We are going to do a lot. So please brush up your fundamentals. So it will be help you out throughout our upcoming session. Okay. So we'll see tomorrow. So please do practice. We'll talk about file extension tomorrow. Okay. So
Mohideen,
yes.
this PyCharm, it's totally, it's open source or
No,
it's like,
PyCharm Sublime is actually both. It's not up to open source. It will be free of cost for students, and it is paid for commercial purpose. So for PyCharm, you will find two versions. One is a community edition, and one is professional edition. Professional edition paid. So actually, I'm using a professional one. It's a paid because I'm using for uh, commercial purpose, right? So this is
okay.
professional is paid. So, but community is free, but it is actually restricted. So you don't get complete what I say
Right, right.
features. It is actually a restricted feature in a community. It's a free for students, but professionals are paid.
Okay.
But there is a crack is there, but you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
crack anything you want in a professional. Yeah. So it's not
Okay.
suggestible, but you can start with community because it's a learning purpose, right? You can go with community, so you will get a support as well.
Sure.
So start practicing in tool, so you will get a tool knowledge. That's why I'm showing you the PyCharm and Sublime also. So you will get tool knowledge because it is much important for developing a project. Even in my last interview, they have asked me a question: which tool actually using PyCharm? So what is the feature available in PyCharm? They will ask you the such question. Okay, so please improve your tool knowledge. So it will be helpful for your project development. Okay, so we'll see tomorrow. So thanks for your time today. Thank you. Any doubts? Any more doubts? Yeah, we'll see tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.